Now we're good.
Hey, good morning, everybody. This is Captain Kirk with eXp Realty and the Lead Generation Academy here today with Kevin Smullen. Today, we've got a pretty exciting time, and some of you don't like or don't know how to run an open house. That would be me. I've went through that myself too, right? So Kevin today is going to talk about how to generate immediate business through open houses. And I think this is going to be a fantastic class for us. Always interested to know how we can get more business in different ways. And it seems to me that open house is a very easy way to come, to get a house sold and also to pick up new buyer clients. And so there's a ton of ways to do that. And I think that you have to find something that works for you, something that you feel comfortable doing, because you are giving up, normally you're giving up your weekends. And so without further ado, this is week number 5, and it should be an epic hour, you guys. So we're approaching the holidays, and we're going to talk about the holiday schedule probably next week. But I'm hoping you guys enjoy the class today. So let's get rolling. And drum roll, please. Here is the great Kevin Smullen.
Wow, you're in rare form this morning. Must have been a good cup of coffee or something.
Oh, yeah, I'm on my second cup.
Sweet. All right, so let's see. This morning we're talking about how to generate some immediate business through open houses. I am like you. So when I first started in real estate, everyone said, go do an open house, and I would do it. And basically what happened probably 90% of the time that I did them is I would sit in a stranger's house and watch TV and pray that somebody came. And I learned very quickly that wasn't how to do an open house. Kurt's nodding his head. Okay, so I learned very quickly that was not what you did. So the way that I used to do them is what agents used to tell me to do when I was brand new and didn't know anything. And that was you would just show up and put up some signs. And usually the signs that I would put up was I'd put up like 2 or 3 because that was all the signs that I had. And you'll notice if you run open houses like that, it's kind of weird what happens. Nobody comes. So don't be surprised if you're not doing, if you're really not doing any marketing or anything to promote the event, if people don't show up. So the number one reason why people hate open houses is because they just don't get results. If you got results from the open house, you would think and feel very, very differently about them. So in fact, a few weeks ago on my YouTube channel, I recorded a video of my recommendations for people, what I recommend they do in the first 30 days of them being in business. And one of the things I absolutely highly recommend was doing an open house, because it's a way to generate immediate business if you're brand new. But in order to do it the right way and actually get people to the open house, it is going to require some prep and some marketing and throwing some money at this to make sure that you're not sitting at somebody's house watching TV, that this is actually an effective time to grow your business. So with what I'm going to share with you today, you are going to need a little lead time leading up to this. So my recommendation is, if you are running an open house on the weekend, my recommendation would be to start marketing that open house the Saturday before or even the Monday before. So giving yourself at least 5 to 7 days of lead time leading up to the open house. I would tell you, if you don't have that, then you don't have enough time to really market it effectively and make sure that that people are going to show up. So again, with that context in mind, everything that I'm going to talk about, keep in mind, we're talking about doing this 5 to 7 days prior to that open house starting. And if you'll do it and follow some of the steps that I'm going to talk about, you will absolutely solve that problem. You will not be sitting in an open house being bored, hoping that somebody shows up. So hope marketing is my least favorite marketing plan. And that's why I hate it, is you're just hoping that things work. That plan usually doesn't go very well. So with that being the case, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen as we get into the training today. Now, I'm going to go ahead and what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through how I teach people to market open houses and what we're doing to actually drive traffic to the open house. So as an example, one of my clients about a month ago, he did an open house the way that I'm going to show you today. And during his open house, he had over 50 people come through that open house. He picked up 4 new pieces of business from it, some listings, some buyers. So a lot of times people are talking about doing open houses to generate buyers, and absolutely you can do that. But there's also a way to use open houses to generate sellers if you do this correctly. And so we're going to talk about both sides of that. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into the promotion about this. And if you have questions, go ahead and use the Q&A, the chat. Just go ahead and type out a question, and if there's something that's not clear as I go through it, we'll be happy to correct that. So, like I said, let me just go ahead and share my screen. Perfect. So, one of the things that I absolutely love about open houses is using Facebook as one of the marketing tools to get people to the open house. So this is a screenshot of an open house that I helped one of my clients do. And you'll notice that with just the marketing that we did on Facebook, there were 11,000 people who saw the invitation to this open house, and 42 people who had responded saying that either they were interested or they were going to come. Now, granted, not everybody on that list, not all 42 of those people are going to show up. But one of the things that I love about using Facebook to promote open houses is that if you set it up as an event, then Facebook has a built-in reminder system that will remind people leading up to the event. So if they have clicked that either they're interested or that they're going, Facebook will say, hey, there's this event coming up. You said you were interested. Here's the date, here's the time, etc. And so that's one of the things I love about this process is a lot of that follow-up happens automatically for you. So if you break down the open house into different sections, there's the things that you do leading up to the open house. There's the things that you do the day of the open house. And then there's the things that you do for follow-up after the open house. So we'll talk a little bit about all 3 phases of that, what to do leading up to it. And obviously this is the marketing side, getting things prepared. Then we've got the what I recommend you do the day of, and then also the follow-up. So we'll cover all 3 sections, and we'll get into that. So basically, if you've heard any of the other trainings that we've done about Facebook, one of the things that I've mentioned is that on average, the cost for running ads is about 1 cent per impression. So an impression, and again, just so we're speaking the same language, an impression is one time that the ad is shown. So it's not counting whether they click on it or whether they like it or comment or share. It's not counting any of that. It's just total number of times that it's shown. So where it's about 1 cent per impression, if I wanted to have 100 people see my event, roughly that's going to cost me about $1. So when you see this, that 11,200 people saw this, then what that tells you is this agent spent about $112 to market this particular event. So for that $100 that they spent in promotion, again, that's the kind of traffic that they were driving. Now, even if half those people show up, I would suspect for most of you, that's still a really good open house. And you're going to be excited to be in front of that many potential people who are interested, whether it's buying or selling. So with that being said, I'm going to actually walk you through the steps of how to do this and how to set this up. So with that being said, this is just a business page that I use for training. It's not real. And so I'm going to walk you through how to actually set this up step by step. So again, just for the sake of clarity, my recommendation is to do what I'm going to show you at least 5 to 7 days leading up to the open house. That way you've got plenty of time to market this and to drive traffic to it. So with that being said, the first step is we want to create an event on your page. So there's this button right here close to the top where you're creating a brand new post where you can do an event. Or if you go to the side, there's this events tab, and you can access what I'm going to show you either way. But once I click on event, there's going to be this little screen that pops up. Now, the first thing it's going to ask you for is this event photo. Now, there are specific dimensions for this. And let me just show you this. This is a tool I've shown you before. But one of my recommendations is to use Canva. So canva.com. And what canva.com is it's a image editing site. So you can create all kinds of images for just about anything you would ever want to do. So if you come in here and say, I want to create, if you just start typing out Facebook, one of the dimensions is a Facebook event cover. And that's the one that you want for what we're doing. And you'll notice it gives you the dimensions of that. And the reason why it's important is because those dimensions are different than any of these other Facebook formats. So the Facebook event cover is the one that you want. When you click on that, it's going to give you just a blank canvas, but that canvas is the proper dimensions. And then you can go through and create your images. If you want a tutorial on how Canva works, just head over to my YouTube channel. And I've got tutorials on how to use Canva. But with that, all I've done is I've just, before today, I just created an image. So I'm just going to go ahead and upload that. And there we go. So a couple notes about the image. So you'll notice I've got a couple pictures of the home, just giving them a reason to be excited to come and see what the house is all about. On the side up here, it's a little hard to see, but it says open house at the top. I've got the address and the city, the date and time, and then the brokerage logo for compliance. So in most parts of the country, you can't run a blind ad. You need to show that you are part of a real estate company, that you're a licensed agent. And so you'll want to throw that on. Now, the other key is you'll notice that I've limited how much text I put on here. So one of the rules of thumb for Facebook is if there is an image that you're planning on using as an ad, the image can't be more than 20% text. So if the text is taking up more than 20% of the image, Facebook will reject the ad. So just keep that in mind anytime you're creating an image on Facebook. You want the image to have less than 20% text, which this one absolutely will. Now, what I'm going to do in the event name is I'm going to put open house, the address. So in this case, it's 123 Main Street in Sandy. Depending on how many characters I've got left, you'll notice that I'm limited on the number of characters. I might put the price. And then I might also put like, 3-bed, 2-bath, whatever. So you'll notice all of that fits within the character limit. So that's what I would use for my title of the event name. Now for the location, it's going to default to your Facebook page, but you don't want your business page to be the location. You actually want the property address to be the location so that people know where to go. So here's that address, 123 Main Street, Sandy, Utah. And so now they're going to know exactly where the open house is. They're going to have the address. It just makes your life really simple. And when people get the reminders and they see this location, they can actually just click on it on their phone and it will map out how to get to the open house. So in the description, this is where you would put a little bit of information about the home. This beautiful 2-story home has 3-bed, 2-bath, and over 3,000 square feet, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So this is where you'd put any of the details about the home to get people excited and give them a reason to come see it. That's what you're going to use the description for, and you don't have a limit as to how much you use here. So feel free to put as much or as little as you want. Again, the intent of using this description is people are going to see this, and as they read it, in addition to the photos that they're going to see, hopefully that's enough incentive for them to come. So if you're doing like before we hit the record button today, as Kirk and I were kind of talking about this, he was talking about, a lot of times he sees agents using a drawing for a gift card or something like that. If you're doing drawings or giveaways, then I would absolutely recommend putting that in the description. And if you're doing a giveaway, I would probably remove where it has like 3-bed, 2-bath up here in the title. And I would put giveaways in the title so that people see that first. So just a little side note there. For category, there isn't a great category for what we're doing. Home is one that's probably the best. And so that would be the category. The reason why the category matters is sometimes when people go to the events tab in Facebook to see what events are going on around them, they can pick a category of interest and it will show them events related to that. So that is what this is for. So frequency with an open house, in most cases, you're just doing it at one time. And so you would just leave it on occurs once. If you're doing an open house on the same property like Saturday and Sunday, then that's when you would do a custom one where you're having multiple times. But so I said I was going to do this on let's see, Saturday the 16th. So that's the date that I would put in. I believe on the image I created that I said I was going to run it from 12 to 4. Again, do whatever times you want. But whatever times you're going to do, just put the start and end time for the event right there. Co-hosts, what this section is for, this section is kind of cool. So this would allow you to do joint marketing for this event with another business page. So one of the practical applications of this is I have some clients who will do open houses where they will have their preferred lender come to the open house. And as people are coming and they're talking, they can ask questions about financing. And so if you were doing that, you could put in your lender's business page right here, and they could also market the event to their contacts and to their friends. So that's what co-host is for, is if you're doing any kind of co-marketing. Details, you're not going to use this section for the most part. So what this is for, you'll notice we can add a schedule. This is more like if you were running a conference where different speakers were going to be attending. You could say, this speaker's at this time and this speaker's at this time. Obviously for an open house, not real important for what we're doing. The one that I would recommend though is checking this box for kid friendly. Just letting people know it's fine if they bring their kids. And I actually encourage that. Then for admission, you don't need to worry about any of these because there's not a registration, there's not tickets, right? We don't need to do any of that. So that's more for like concerts and stuff like that. So you can skip that section. And then lastly are the options. So I always leave it as anyone can post. That way people can comment and talk. You can check to make sure that the post has to be approved before it's seen. If you are worried about people posting stuff you don't want them to post, then go ahead and check that box. Frankly, I normally don't worry about it. And then I like to also check the messaging box. So it says people can ask questions about your event on Messenger, and then the display, the guest list. So it'll show you how many are interested and who's coming, and I like having that shown. So once that is done, then basically what I do, this is just a step to save you some time, is I will come back up here to the description and I would copy that. So right click, copy, or Control C if you prefer the shortcut. But you're going to want to copy that because when we set up the ad to promote this, that becomes very important. So with that, now I just hit publish. Oh, oops, that's 4 a.m. Probably helps if I change that to 4 p.m. That would make a lot more sense. Perfect. Okay, so with that, I'm just going to hit publish. And now the event is going to be created on that page. So here's the event. You'll notice right now, this option right here shows up whether I'm interested in going or whether I'm going. I always recommend that as soon as you're done creating the event, immediately hit the going button, because nobody wants to be the first that's going to the event. And so I always just click that I'm going, because now the first person's there, and people in the future are going to be less hesitant to say that they're going to be coming. So I now have this event that is created, and it's just a matter of setting up the ad. So let me show you how we do that. So this is my ad account, and I'm just going to go ahead and set up an ad. So anytime you're doing a housing ad, you do need to check this box, special ad category. We talked about this a lot when we did the Facebook ads training. So we do need to check that and say that this is a housing ad. If you don't do that, your ad will automatically be rejected. Okay, now, once we do that, the marketing objective, we're going to select engagement. And the reason why we select engagement is you'll notice that there is a specific type of ad for event responses. And that's what we want. We want people to say that either, yes, they're coming, or they're interested, or whatever the case is, because that's what's going to get them to come. So for the campaign name, I would just call this, in my case, I would just call it 123 Main Street Open House. If I see that title, I know exactly what this is. I don't have to go look at it. So once I've selected event responses as my objective, then the next section is going to be targeting. Now, my intent with running an ad like this is to expose the open house to potential buyers. So what I would do is I would not use custom audiences for this. I'll talk about that in a second, because there is one way that you would want to use that, and that's going to be some of the super secret stuff that will help you ramp up your open house to new levels, and it's pretty cool actually. So I'll share that with you in a second. But for this, just showing this ad to a new audience of people, I would come down here to locations and select everyone who lives in this location. That way it's going to eliminate showing the ad to people who are traveling, or to people who are just visiting the area. Those people are not my target market, so I want to eliminate them. And then in here, I'm going to be typing in the geography of people that I want to come. So in this case, this property is located in Salt Lake County. So I'm going to target all of Salt Lake County. And you'll notice over here that everybody who lives there, all of Salt Lake County, it is estimating my reach to be 640,000 people. Now that's a fairly significant audience. And so I want to come down here and thin that out a little bit. So I would go to the detailed targeting, and I would type in something like Zillow. So people who are interested in Zillow, again, the thought process is that potential buyers are probably going to their Facebook page, going to their website, engaging with Zillow. And so I can target those people with an ad. And then if I click on suggestions, it's going to give me other ones similar to that. So people that are house hunting, homes.com, if it's a first-time buyer type of a home, that's great. People interested in real estate, people interested in pre-qualification. And so now, instead of showing it to 640,000 people who are probably not interested, now I have a more interested, more focused 260,000 person audience. So that is probably what I would do for marketing it, as far as just targeting the correct people. In the placements, I'm telling Facebook where I want the ad to show up. So I always edit the placements. The news feed is the optimal place. That's that main section that people are scrolling through on Facebook. The marketplace, not a lot of people look there, so I usually turn that one off. So with this kind of an ad, the news feed is the only place where I want my open house to be shown. So that takes care of that. My ad is optimized for event responses. That's exactly what I want. And then in the daily budget, I'm determining how many people I want to see this. So right now, what it's telling me is for 11 bucks a day, this many people are going to see my event per day. So this is one of the reasons why you want about 5 to 7 days lead time to market this, is so that you've got enough time for people to see the event. So in that case, again, you can spend what you want, but my recommendation is, if you're going to spend your time sitting in a house, I want to make sure that you're not just sitting there for no reason, hoping that people come. Again, hope marketing sucks because it usually doesn't work. So I would rather spend $100 of my own money promoting a listing or promoting a home to make sure that people are going to show up. So it just depends. But if you're running, if you wanted to, let's say your marketing budget for the open house was $100, then, basically I'm just going to take 100, divide by 7, and that tells me how much I should be spending per day. Right. So if I've got $100, I've got 7 days of marketing, I basically need to spend $14 a day. Right. So if that's what you wanted to do, then you would go ahead and put in $14 a day. Facebook's going to tell you how many people they expect to show the ad to per day. And then down here for the start and end date, if I'm running the open house, if the open house is on the 16th, I'm probably going to run it up to just a little bit before the open house. So I said the open house was going to start at noon. So I would probably have this shut off, probably about 11:30. Right. So this is the marketing that I would do for the open house. Now it's a little bit more than 7 days. So that's why it's telling me the ad's going to run for 9 days and at $14 a day, based on the time frames that I've put in. That's what Facebook expects to charge me for the ad. But anyway, once you've got those settings as far as your budget and the start and end time set, that section is done. So then the final part is just setting up the ad itself, the actual content. So the good news is, since you created this event on your page, this section becomes really simple. So in the identity section, we are just going to pick the page where we posted that. And then as we scroll down to the event section, when you click on the event field, here's that event that we just created. So if you haven't already created it on your page and you get to this point, when you click on this event field, nothing's going to show up because you need to create that event first. So now that I've already created that event, this is going to pop up. So it's showing you a preview of that event that we just created. You'll notice right here it says one person is going. That was me because I already clicked that button. But you'll notice this primary text field is blank. It didn't pull in the description about the home. So remember how I told you to copy that? This is where we would paste in that information. So that description that we created, we're just going to copy that. Just to show you, it was this description right here. I didn't put a very long one, but whatever you had in the description, you're just going to copy that, and it goes right here in that text of your ad. Okay. Once that's done, you're done. All you have to do is come down, hit the confirm button, and then that sends that ad out live. Once Facebook approves it, they'll start showing that ad. So with that, a large portion of the marketing is going to be taken care of. So again, if I'm spending $100 or so to drive traffic to the open house, in my opinion, that's $100 well spent. Because for me, I view this as lead generation. So as an example, in previous trainings that we've talked about, we have talked about that we want to have one post every single week that's focused on bringing in new leads and new opportunities. So if I were doing an open house on the weekend, this would be the ad that I would run to generate new business and new opportunities. Okay. So this is the base of marketing an open house on Facebook. This alone will create exposure and drive traffic to the open house. But my recommendation is don't stop there, right? What I find is that agents do too little marketing. And if they just get strategic about this, and if they're not afraid to spend a little bit of money, then they can make open houses a massive source of business, right? So the way that I look at it is, let's say you spent $300 or $500 on an open house. If you picked up a couple of buyers, or a seller and a buyer, or however it works out, is that $300 to $500 well spent? And I would suspect almost all of you would say, yeah, of course, right? So that's just the way that I look at this, is that if I market it the right way and I handle it the right way, that it's a massive source of business. And that's why I love open houses, especially for people who are brand new, because it's an easy way for you to start getting business if you're going to do the marketing. Now, I told you I was going to share some super secret stuff that will help you ramp this up even more. So let me share some of those things with you. One of the things that I highly recommend is there's a service out there called a Coles directory, C-O-L-E-S. Some of you may have access to this through, I find a lot of agents actually have access to it through their brokerage. Their brokerage has an account to access this, but if you're not familiar with a Coles directory, it's basically like a reverse directory. And I'm sure there's lots of them out there, but this is just the one I'm familiar with. But what it allows you to do is it allows you to pull contact information based on certain areas and certain locations. And so that's the benefit of it. Oh, Kirk just says, yes, we have it in KV Core. Awesome. So use KV Core, but the Coles directory allows you to get areas and pull contact information from the owners. So here's the cool part, right? My recommendation is use that Coles directory and pull like 1,000 to 1,500 people in a radius around the property, right? So the purpose of this is these are going to be the neighbors, right? And a lot of times when you look at open houses, typically the people who are coming to open houses can kind of be broken down into a couple of categories. So number one, you've got potential buyers who are coming, and the reason they're spending their time on a Saturday to come take a look at a house is they're currently in the buying process. Again, that's one of the reasons we like to do these open houses, is people who are currently thinking about buying a home, they're the ones who frequently come to an open house. The second category of people who come to open houses frequently are the neighbors, right? And they just want to see what their neighbor, what the quality of the home is, what kind of features they have, what they're selling it for. People call them the nosy neighbors, but I don't look at it that way, because in most cases, the neighbors who are coming through, the only reason they're interested is because they're thinking about selling and they're curious about what the competition looks like, right? So a lot of times when neighbors attend an open house, it's because they're thinking about selling. And this is one of the ways that you can totally generate sellers from your open house. So here's how this process works. When you get that Coles directory allows you, it allows you to have all of the contact information for the people right around that property. And what we do is exactly what I've shown you in other trainings, right? So what I mean by that, I'll just open up another tab just to show you, is we can take that list of those people and we can upload that list to Facebook. So let me show you how to do that. So you're going to open up your business manager account for this. Again, your business manager account is the back-end tools that Facebook gives for advertisers. So it's different than your business page. So this is a business, let me do this. So this is a business page. It's what people see on Facebook. It's the posts that they see, it's your contact information, etc. Now, this is your business page. The business manager is all of these tools and resources that Facebook gives. So we simply go to this audiences section. And to set up a business manager account, it's free. You just have to go to business.facebook.com. So business.facebook.com, and then you'll have access to what I'm showing you here. But in the custom audiences section, you'll notice that I can create a custom audience based on uploading a customer list. Now, this is something that we've talked about a lot, but when we talked about it, I was talking about uploading a list of your past clients and your sphere of influence so that you can continue to stay in touch with those people. Well, another list that I can upload are lists of homeowners around that property. And so I can upload that list to Facebook, and then as I'm running ads, right, Instead of doing the target, oops, let me go back to the audience section. So I would set up a second ad, and instead of targeting people who live in that location, I would simply come up here to the custom audiences section and click on that list, right? So I don't have one uploaded, but the concept is I would just upload that list and then select that list of people as the audience for the ad. So here's what's cool. I know, like for example, I think most people know who Tom Ferry is in the real estate industry. He's a real estate coach. One of the things he talks about a lot for open house marketing is getting some flyers of the property, some flyers with the property information, open house, price, etc. Getting some really nice materials, and then a few days leading up to the open house, go door knock some of the neighbors and just hand them that flyer and say, come, right? So what I'm talking about is the same thing, but instead of taking your time to go knock on doors, which if you want to do that, great. Again, it's just bringing additional traffic. But instead of doing that, you can just simply take that Kohl's directory list, upload it here, run ads to those people, and have them come to the open house. So one of the things I really like is with this, even though the open house, let's say I'm doing an open house from 12 to 4, like I put on the thing, right? I would have a special invitation for the seller, for neighbors in the property, for them to come see the home from like 10 to 12, right, before the actual open house, so that I know the people coming through from 10 to 12 are people in the area, and then the open house itself for buyers is from 12 to 4. The reason I recommend having a special time for the neighbors to come check it out is really this is your audition as being the listing agent of choice, right? When they see what you do to market properties, because they're going to see the advertising that you've done on Facebook. If you're doing door knocking, they're going to get that flyer that you're taking right to their doorstep. They're going to see you as you've come to do those things. Kirk had mentioned having a food truck and using that to invite people. Awesome. The more you can make your open house more of an event and something that's fun for people to come to, they will come, period. Right? So if it takes a food truck or whatever to get people to come, honestly, it is worth the investment from my standpoint. Because if I invest that kind of money, you're easily going to generate business from it. So I was telling you about my client where he had over 50 people come through the last open house that he did. This is exactly the steps that I'm talking about are exactly the things that he did. So he picked up one listing, 3 new buyers from it. The home that he was doing an open house on during that time, they actually sold it and had multiple offers, and they sold it for $20,000 more than the list price, just because multiple people were competing. So that's a huge thing that I highly recommend, is getting that Kohl's directory list, upload it, and run ads to those people. Again, this is what you're doing, is you're auditioning for their business. It's basically your resume. This is what I do to market properties, right? And it's such an easy way to set yourself apart from the rest of the competition. Signage, when you're putting up your signs for open houses, again, my experience is agents use too few signs. So I would recommend going crazy and having signs pointing all directions to the open house. So I find most agents only put up like 3 to 5 signs. My recommendation is you should be putting up as many as you possibly have. So if you were in the 20 to 30 range, then we're talking, again, all I want to do is just drive massive amounts of traffic to the open house. If you're going to spend your time and your effort sitting in somebody's home, make it worthwhile, right? When you don't do any marketing and you just show up, that's when open houses suck. And again, the only reason it sucks is because you're bored. Nobody's coming through. So all we want to do is swing to the other side of that fence to where you're doing tons of marketing, tons of promotion to make it worth your time, right? Otherwise, yeah, there's no reason to do open houses. But when you market open houses like this, you'll start generating business. One of the other things that my client did, who does a lot of open houses and generates tons of business from it, is that Kohl's directory list of the neighbors around the property. He also uses a company called Sly Dial. And again, there's other companies out there that do similar things. But slide dial is a voicemail drop. So the phone never rings, but it just places a voicemail. And it's a recording of his voice, and it's just, hey, my name is so-and-so with blah, 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 blah. Just wanted to let you know we're going to be doing an open house in your area on this property. If you know somebody that that is looking for a property, send them our way. That way you can kind of pick who your neighbors are. And if you're curious just to see the home, we're having a special invitation for neighbors to come check it out from 10 to 12. We'd love to see you then, right? And so there's this voicemail drop that goes out, and he's doing that leading up to the open house. So think about it. If people get a voicemail from you, the neighbors, they've seen your ads on Facebook, they're getting the reminders on Facebook, think about how much exposure you've given that property leading up to it. So this is a way that you can leverage sellers out of doing an open house, right? Again, it's all about the marketing and all about the promotion. One of the things that my client also does, he doesn't do food trucks, but he has like a bounce house that he's bought, and he just puts it up in the front yard so that kids can go jump and have fun, and mom and dad can go walk through the house, right? So that's one thing that he does. Another thing that he does is he has a snow cone machine. And I know a lot of you are probably laughing at that because we're in Utah and you don't need a snow cone machine. You can just go outside. But he does have a snow cone machine, again, just making it fun for people to come. Tons of signs. He's got a big banner that he puts out in front of the house with the brokerage logo that says open house. So again, you've just got to do things that stand out, because if you don't, it just gets lost in the busyness of today's world. So those would be the things that I would highly recommend as far as the marketing and promotion leading up to the open house. Now, during the open house, again, it's important that you have lots of flyers, have a sign-in sheet so that you can do your follow-up. A lot of times you can use the sign-in sheet as the excuse. Like you can use the drawing as the excuse for the sign-in sheet. We're randomly going to pick somebody to win this gift card, et cetera, et cetera. But you want to make sure you've got that for the follow-up. The other thing that's cool about marketing this the way that I'm showing you is that once these ads are running, if people have clicked that they're interested or that they're going, then there is a separate custom audience called events. So I can set up a custom audience targeting people that have responded to an event, and now I can market to those people afterwards. So if anyone has clicked that they're interested or that they're going, I can now target those people with ads in the future based on that action that they took. So the cool part about that is now that person is part of my database that I can just keep running ads to. And that's what makes, again, this powerful, is when you understand this entire process, you can make sure that open houses are a fantastic way of generating business. Once you've got your, once people come and they're signing in, do what you would normally do as an agent, ask them the questions, show them the home. I find personally that the more space you give people, the more those walls come down and the more willing they are to talk to you. The times when those walls go up and people are kind of pushing back is when you're just that pushy car salesman that nobody really likes. So again, my recommendation is give people space, answer questions, and you'll find that a lot of people are very open to having conversations if you treat them that way. And then for the follow-up afterwards, again, I highly recommend, if you can, do another voicemail drop and let people know in the area, hey, thanks for coming. We appreciate those who came. We had X number of people. These were the results of the open house. Because again, this is part of your resume and part of your audition for getting sellers. So there are lots of ways that you can do this. These are just some of the things that I've seen people do that make open houses really successful. But it's just, again, it's a way to generate interest immediately from potential buyers, from potential sellers. It's just the key is you've got to market it the correct way. If you don't, you're going to have the same experience that you've probably had at some point in your real estate career, which is you set up an open house, you sit there, you're watching TV, and very few people, if any, come because frankly, just nobody knows about the event. So the more you can turn this into an event, turn it into a spectacle, it only helps you. So that would be my recommendations on how to generate immediate business from an open house. And then one last thing, some of you may be sitting there saying, well, Kevin, I don't have an open house that I can do a listing on, or I don't have a listing that I can do an open house on. Same thing that we've talked about before, borrow one, right? There are probably plenty of people in your office who would love to do an open house for their sellers, but they don't want to spend the time sitting there. So if you ask somebody, hey, can I do an open house on your listing? A lot of times they'll just go ahead and say yes. But again, make sure you're doing that with enough time leading up to the time you're going to do the open house so that you can do the marketing. If you don't have the lead time to market it, then you're wasting your time, because in most cases, nobody's going to know the open house is happening. And so that's the single biggest problem people have with open houses, is just nobody knows that that's what's actually happening. So anyway, that's what I would recommend on how to generate immediate business from doing open houses. So any comments or anything you want to add to that, Kirk?
Yeah, I think, this is a huge deal because as you search the internet, YouTube and whatever, I'm sure there's some other videos out there that kind of hit on the same thing, but this is very pointed and very direct if you utilize those tools, because it's, I hate the old mythical, just put a bunch of signs out. It's not just that one thing, right? It's several things. Yep. And I love to use that word, digitally door knock. And that's exactly what you were talking about, right? Now, I've door knocked before. I have no problem with it. I don't have the time for it today. But when I first started, that's what I did, right? And it's like what you're talking about. If you're brand new in the business and you're looking to do an open house and you don't have listings, go to your office, go to somebody there that you make sure your state broker approves of that, because some brokers just don't let you cross over. But yeah, try to get somebody in your own brokerage. I guarantee you there's somebody there. And that's how you're going to really fast track your business too. So in the main thing is, I want you to understand that you don't have to just go out and put signage out. You don't have to go sit in and hope that somebody comes and grabs an orange or an apple from you, or, little cupcakes or whatever it is, but do something different. And what I learned about this is that if I can digitally door knock, I'm all about that, because I don't have time to do the other. So I like that saying, set it and forget it, right? So that's basically what we were doing, is we're going to set it and let it run. It's minimal dollars. Most agents charge some type of advertising fee within the MLS, right? Use those dollars. Do that for the first couple of weeks and really push some traffic. I like the fact that you can maybe do from 10 to 12 or 1 hour, whatever you want to do, and have neighbors only. I think that's a huge deal, because now I know who I'm talking to, and I'm not scared that somebody's walking through that's a buyer and I can't talk to them and I can't talk to that guy and I can't. And this one says, hey, I'm just a neighbor. And then I don't get an opportunity to talk to them that way. But I like the fact that you can use cold data, which I think we call cold data inside of KV Core. I'm going to send a link out to you guys so you guys can see what that is. If you need it, send me a message at kirk.brown@eXp Realty, and I'll send you the cold data video on how to do that. I think it's a huge deal. So you take that list and you digitally door knock to those folks. That's a huge deal. Put a banner in the front. Now, the only thing that I always like to make sure of, because this is just a generalization of how to do one, make sure that you're compliant with the HOAs, because signage sometimes is difficult. When you get into luxury, 300, 400, 500, and luxury and up, there's going to be some criteria. You can't put anything in the front of the neighborhood. You can't put anything there. So now this becomes even more important, right? Because you can't put the signage and you don't want to door knock. I don't have the time. This costs minimal dollars versus trying to print a bunch of cards and go stick them in somebody's door that just go stick them in the trash. I'm not saying don't do that, but don't just do only that. Okay. So I think it was great stuff, Kevin. Another great training. I am going to be listening I got 2 houses coming on the market here pretty soon, and I am definitely going to be using exactly this. And mindset's a big thing, right?
Sure.
I'm going into this thinking I'm going to have 50 people. And if I have 10 and I sell that house and pick up a buyer, it was well worth, $122 or whatever it was for that week to push that through cold data or whatever.
Yep.
So, that's any closing comments?
No, that was it. unless anybody has any questions or anything.
Yeah, absolutely. Good job today, Kevin. And again, thank you for spending time with my team and my connections. It's always wonderful to hear fresh new ideas from somebody that's a top coach in the country. And we feel very blessed that you're here sharing your valuable information with us. So
yeah, my pleasure.
Without further ado, you guys have a fantastic week selling, and we'll see you guys next Thursday on the Lead Generation Academy.